Welcome to the Law, Your Money, and You. We hope that you will enjoy this as much as we're going to. But I'm Roberta Saphire, an attorney in Sharon, and
Hi, I'm Camile Barron, a financial coordinator and healthcare advisor, also in Sharon, Massachusetts. And Roberta, we are so fortunate to have a return guest today who is going to give us lots of information, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
yes, and this is going to be more of a informal one, but yet will probably give people the most information that they can put to use. And there he is, Mike Wilbur. Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background when we first started. Like you first started with cable and how we got it. You've been on the show for years, but go ahead, start from the beginning.
Yeah, I have the weirdest background of anybody in the legal field. I like to tell people. I've been all over. So I've been worked for Apple back when I was a college kid. When I was around that time, was interested in film and luckily talked to the right people in school, and that got me into film and TV production. And I did that for about 10 years before I saw that I was in Ohio on some random Tuesday, and I was like, "Where are my friends? What am I doing? Where's my life?" Like, yeah, this is your life if that's what you want to do. Yeah. I don't want to be in Cincinnati on a random Tuesday. So I went to law school after some guidance and I became a lawyer. And that's kind of like where we met and where you guys joined my journey was when I
What I
was
want I'm sorry to
yeah,
interrupt. I'm going to interrupt.
yeah,
We want to point out that picture is distracting. They did. You'll have to tell us what that's about. But
I will.
what's
Yeah.
important about you is you caught every kind of virus and illness that was going around, and it didn't hold you back. And basically,
Yeah,
nobody helped you but yourself. And you went.
absolutely.
Part of your success was you were not afraid to say no. So you were these different cable places there. But if you were in, say, Watertown and they had a job for you, which was 2 hours away and nobody would take it,
Give it to
Michael
me.
Wilbur took it. He took it. And from that, you met, tell us who you met. That's the Wahlburgers. Tell us about.
Yeah. So that was my last kind of like permanent job in TV and film production was I worked for the Wahlberg family on their TV show Wahlburgers. And since that was kind of my transitioning time, they also were one of the biggest helps into me becoming an attorney and into doing what I wanted. Because the film and TV field it's creative people. They're great people, some of the best people you'll ever work with kind of thing. And they're loyal people. So they're friends for life. And I didn't want to leave that. So they were able to, while I was in law school, learning to be a lawyer and still working in TV, they would hold my hand through things. Like, well, this is what intellectual property is. Here's how their appearances and everything. And even today, they're a big part of my entertainment practice of law is that all those people that I worked with that are my friends lifelong from whether it be Wahlburgers, National Geographic, all of these things, they've become friend clients of, now they're doing their own, movies, their own TV shows. And well, they know me from the time that I was, like you said, driving 2 hours to go take a 1 day gig on a TV show or something, and they go, well, I can imagine that you being my lawyer, you'd have the same dedication, and it's worked out for me pretty well so far with
Yeah,
that.
and I know you've had clients who drive 2 hours just to go to you. You got such a great name now. How many years are you out?
I'm in my third year now,
You
and
believe it, Camille? 3 years? Because I remember when the COVID came in the law school, it was his sophomore year of law school. We had 4 law school students, different law schools, 4 of them, and they were all like robbed of that 1 year that was so important. By the way, they're all out. Everybody's out now. Everybody got good jobs. And I think it's because the people we get on our show are so dedicated and they plunge forward. And I'm like occupying all the time here. But I'm just so excited to see you. I can't believe it's 3 years. And we did, Camille and I recommended you. We sponsor the Brighten Up Club for financial literacy at the local high school club, and really any group that wants us. And we set you up as a speaker. They're looking for you. And we had a lot of people. We had investors, college planners, you name it, we had it. and they loved you the most. They loved you the most. You have such
It
a
was a
contagious
blast.
personality, and that's why too we recommend people to use you as an attorney, because you give that same zestfulness in it, and stick-to-itiveness. You never say no. Camille wants to say something.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
If you could explain to our viewers, Mike, how you transitioned from what you were doing before TV and film
Yeah.
into your law practice and what your specialization is now in law.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost kind of a timely thing that, today's the last ever episode as we're filming this of Ted Lasso, this huge media thing. And it's a
Really?
great kind of tie-in with the TV and entertainment thing, that there's a kind of poignant line in the show that is, somebody's asking for help and he can't really, he's asking, well, how do you change? I want to change and stuff like that. And the line is, if you continue seeking out help, and you rely on that help when you need it, you might not find the perfect change that you want, but you'll find the change. And that's how I made my transition, and how I still even continue to practice today is, we all want to think that we know everything. We all want to be the expert of it, but really, humility needs to come in, and we need to realize we maybe know this much. Even that's a beautiful thing, knowing that much. But there's somebody that knows this much and that knows this much. And it's a fool's errand to try and do it yourself. To tie into another thing, Lost is my favorite TV program of all time. The core central theme of that is nobody does it alone. And so that's it. When I was still in TV, it was finding the people who I saw were successful and going, how did you get there? Well, what is it that you do? How do you do it? What do you see in me that you think I could do to succeed? And leaning on those people's advice and taking it to heart. Some of it's not always hunky dory. Not all of it is going to be like, oh, well, you're a people person and things. Some things will be, well, and this was something I had to get through when I was an early baby lawyer. Of sometimes the ending is the end. You can, if you want something to go on forever, you can make it go on forever, but things need to have an end. You learn that in law, especially. So I relied on those people, and they got me not only through law school, but into up until very recently, I have exclusively worked as in-house counsel for companies. And I did that specifically because I wanted to get a generalist training. I love, not having every day be the same thing. I love new innovative things and still learning. And so by working as an in-house counsel with, people that came from some of the top law firms in the country and even the world, I was able to learn kind of, okay, well, here's a little bit of this, here's a little bit of that, here's this. Here's how you be a business person on top of being a lawyer. Here's how, well, you're a company, you're also the therapist. And so taking all of that, and now when it comes to my speciality, I am a generalist. I most recently just left my most recent company because I had enough side work that I'm looking for more of another company that's in the entertainment realm full time. But in the meantime, I've been consulting with pretty big businesses internationally. Whether it be they're setting up new entities, they need employment agreements, they need contract reviews, mergers and acquisitions, all of that. Still the entertainment work. I have people every day that are setting up a small studio, people that are doing a small television production. So I'll handle everything, soup to nuts with the transactional work.
How old are you now? I shouldn't ask, but you
34. Yeah.
Today?
No, a couple of months ago I just turned 34, but yeah.
Doesn't he look like he's still in his 20s?
Yes,
I
he
will
does.
gladly take that. Yeah. And so, yeah, everything right now is whatever people bring to me. Recently, and in the past 2 months especially, there's been a lot of cannabis related law, whether it be employment related, people with employment issues related to that, or, there's almost an oversaturation of the market in Massachusetts. And so helping people that are trying to newly enter into the market, or who are trying to flex, who have been, in the market already and want to try to find a stronger foothold. That's been a lot of practice too recently, and that encompasses, everything. That's the in-house work, intellectual property, entertainment. So it's been busy, but both doing all of that individually, as well as, the consulting and talking to other kind of entertainment companies.
Yeah, I went to law school with a fellow who had a big medical background. His father was a doctor. He was in the medical field. He wanted to become a lawyer. and he was like 43 when he passed the bar.
Good for him.
Brilliant man, but he wanted to specialize in medical malpractice. He had the whole background and anything. Well, chances have that he ended up, this is before condominiums came in. And the condominiums came in, he ended up having an enormous condominium practice, and that's what he specialized in, and people went to him. So the medical malpractice was like out the window. So they
Yep.
used to say, you'd have groups forming. What are you specializing? What are you specializing in? And I would say whatever walks in the door. So
You got it. Yeah.
so you might find that you want the entertainment, which you're excellent at, but you're getting all this cannabis and all this other stuff. So you might find that you end up doing that and being very happy.
Yeah,
So
it's all about I tell everybody all the time that I try to correlate the film work to being a lawyer, in that, the film work, well, you're creating a product to put out there for people, or you're not creating stuff for yourself. You're not the one that's just, taking the final and watching it on your laptop. It's to share with people, and it's to make people enjoy. And so that's a service, right? You're doing a service for people's enjoyment. Lawyers are all about service. That's what we're here. I'm not anybody's boss. Everybody that hires me is my boss. They are my clients. And that's who I work for, is their needs, what their wants are. Now, yes, sometimes a client may have outlandish wants and needs, and that's where, the therapist job comes in. You're like, well, are you sure about this? Here's the realism of it all. But again, you're my boss. If you really want to do this, like I gave you the realism, let's go at it. And so it's all about service. It's all about serving their needs.
lawyers are problem solvers. I have two questions, and then I'm going to let Camille ask most of the rest if I can control myself. I want to know what your shirt says and what that picture says.
Yeah. So
and then I
I'm
want to go to the big case in Montana against TikTok,
Yeah.
which
Oh, I'd
10
love to
years
hear
ago
about
was
that.
not popular, but
Mm.
today it is. Okay,
Yeah.
so go.
So
Sure.
I'm coming in with, obviously the IP, the intellectual property stuff. I'm big into fashion. I think that, we have such an influence of art today in a different way than, 100 years ago. 100 years ago was the Van Goghs. And trust me, I'll still go and cry at a Van Gogh. That's beautiful. But today we have a different breadth of it. And so this is a company called Semi-Aquatic. They're one of my favorite clothing companies, and they do hand-stitched graphic designs. And this one was just called their aquatic line, and it's a scuba diver stuff at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, that's
There's
fun.
really no meaning, but it's pretty funny, and it's a really cool art
Yeah.
design.
Yeah, nice.
And then the painting is actually from my favorite TV show. It's called Taskmaster. A bunch of comedians compete for a trophy, and they do a theme every year. And because I've kind of centered, my practice and everything of my branding around like pop art, Andy Warhol kind of style things. One of their seasons was a pop art Andy Warhol season. And I just thought it's too fitting to have in the lawyer's office the pop art painting of somebody saying they did what on the phone, because how many times as the attorney are you like, oh yeah, everything will be fine, everything will be fine, just do this, do that. Then you get the phone call and you're like, so I didn't listen to you. You're like, what did you do? So it was one of those alignments of something I love. It fits with the practice. Oh, and it's the pop art thing. Like, yeah, absolutely. That's got to hang up here.
So Michael, when you were still in the entertainment industry, and then you branched out, you went to law school, and you're licensed now, how did you get your clients? How did you find clients and let them know that you're a lawyer now and how you can help them?
It's still the ongoing process that I do every day. Largely, it was relying on the network that I had, or from places that I had previously worked, and them knowing the quality of what I can do in certain avenues. So like the entertainment ones, former colleagues. The cannabis thing came from similarly friends and referrals from friends. A lot of the corporate work comes from either people that were, of counsels at places I was in-house, or from the actual companies themselves.
Mhm.
I do some consulting work with other companies. That's something that I would highly recommend to anybody in any industry. If you got a couple extra hours, you even the end of the day, you're like, man, I still got gas left in the tank. There are companies left and right that are like, we need people just to, to do work here and there. And if it's You tell me you need a contract review, that's going to take me a couple hours. Absolutely. I'm doing nothing at 9 o'clock at night. Fire it away over here, kind of thing. So a little bit of being a people person, getting out there, talking to people. What do you do? Oh, okay, well, great. Now you're in my black book for when, somebody calls me for landlord tenant. And I go, I don't know what I'm talking about here, but call Jimmy. Jimmy is the best at this stuff. And flip side, when somebody calls Jimmy and they're like, hey, I want to trademark something. They're like, I don't know what we're doing, but go give Wilbur a call. He can handle it. A
Hmm.
lot of the people stuff. And then, you got to find your avenue. I go to conferences a lot. It was easier in COVID when they were all virtual. But the entertainment and sports conferences, any kind of, even if it's not a legal conference, I go to ESPN statistical conference in Boston every year. Why? Well, because ESPN's an entertainment provider. They're a sports provider. They're also a corporation. All things that I do. Well, wasn't it great to meet people that work somewhere like there? So
Right.
thinking outside of the box even, and I think that's like Camille was getting at earlier, I think it was one of you, Bobby or Camille, saying of how in COVID that all of us, the law students, kind of were thrown into this thing and we're doing well now. Well, that's because we were thrown into it. We just needed to learn what to do. And we had to think outside of the box. I'm big on AI. I use AI to enhance my work. We could talk about the lawyers who don't know about being a lawyer and just using AI. But
Yeah.
I'm teaching other lawyers, like teaching classes of, hey, here's how you enhance your practice using AI without breaking privacy laws, without breaking your professional rules. So it's all a matter of being a people person, find the avenues that you want to work in, and then lastly, think outside of the box. Those are probably the best clients and people to get are the ones who the methods that you never thought of initially.
Thank you for that. And by the way, we're both looking at the networking queen. He is the networking queen, and I think maybe we'll crown him the networking king, Roberta. What do you think?
Oh yeah, he's way ahead of me now. But I used to do that too. I used to belong to different networking events, and maybe it was easier being a woman because they concentrated more and felt that they had to get ahead. But yeah, I used to go to these networking uh, organizations where
And they're fun.
you went and they would sit you in at tables, and you were supposed to they would give you a little test and say do this, do that, or tell everybody in 45 seconds what you do.
Oh yeah, the icebreaker
That,
things. Yeah.
and then you go on to the next one. But I found one of the best hints that anybody ever gave was when you sit at a table and all these people, like you're going into Boston now, you have a badge or a card with your name on it. So when they're talking to you, they don't have to, oh, what was his name? They can see it right ahead. So it gets you, there's all different tricks like that, the networking queen. I
The new
talked,
one nowadays is they have NFC business cards. So you just keep the one card on you and you just go, oh, do you have your phone with you? Somebody can just tap their phone onto your card and whatever you
Mhm.
want, your website, your
oh,
email will pop right on up there for you.
yeah, I do that. My latest networking tool is, oh, what a cute baby. I have 12 grandchildren. Let me see. 2 years old. Yeah, that's good. I go, let me see. 18 months. I got one of every age. I know I'm good at guessing ages. Another thing, another non-useful thing that I'm good at is guessing men's shoe sizes.
That is impressive.
I don't know how I got into that, but we're into that. I am pretty good at that. But and then of course we have the Saphire event group, which started off of this, but they're always looking for help. The cable TVs. We're very fortunate here in Sharon. We're in Sharon, Massachusetts, but we have an excellent cable TV staff, which is, you'd say, oh, they do all that, but they are the greatest. They've been around for a long time, and I'll match them up anywhere in the world because we deal with people in Portugal, in California, Florida,
Brazil,
Rhode Island, huh?
Brazil.
Oh yeah, Brazil. I mean, they're all over. They're all over. Of course, we're fortunate to have my daughter and son-in-law with 8 kids because there's plenty to interview there. Anyway, but now I want to go on to the
Montana.
main thing that's out there today with TikTok, and I don't understand why our country or whoever it is that wants to ban TikTok. But just the background, Montana government outlawed TikTok, and there's a case against them. You tell our viewers what this case, how it's going to work out, and if the people win, what will
Yeah,
happen.
it's fascinating on multi levels for everything
Oh,
that's going on. So the impetus for it all really is that TikTok is owned by a Chinese company called BitDance. And well, that alone isn't, a smoking gun of anything.
well,
The
everything's
fear
made
that
in China too, you know. So don't
the
stop.
difference being is that by being an application, they have access to your location, to privacy data, to personal information that, just buying a sneaker from Nike isn't going to give them. And there is a law in China that does say that the People's Republic at any point in time can demand and force a Chinese corporation to turn over any of the data that they have, which would include all of that location data, that personal data, everything that the app collects. And so that's the impetus of all of these fears and everything that's kind of going towards TikTok and has been since the Trump presidency when they tried to nationally outlaw it. And at the time, the court said that it was overstepping, that was not a matter of presidential meaning. So that's how we've led to today, which is legislation. Because, okay, well, if it's not a presidential matter that you can take care of, seems like the next route that we would go is legislating. So Montana's been the first one to make an attempt at this. And their basic impetus is saying that TikTok's dangerous with what the algorithm, all the data that it collects and then decides of what videos it's going to show a user is dangerous because all of that data that's being collected, well, there's a chance that the Chinese government could collect that, and that's a huge privacy violation. And so on its face, if you read it that way, it's like, okay, well, this makes sense then. Okay, well, obviously we don't want to have our data being taken, especially by China. So okay, well, banning it seems right. And it's like, okay, well, let's take a step back here and let's look at this a little bit more in depth and into why this legislation is now being brought into the courts. Well, first thing is going to be the obvious of this is free speech that we're talking about here. TikTok really is a platform, and a lot of people have made it, whether it be a business, whether it be a mental health thing, good or bad, a business for themselves in a place that they can put out ideas and opinions, and it is truly a speech forum. And to ban that, well, it does seem like you're putting a restriction on free speech, Montana. It seems like you're bringing in a constitutional issue here. And then you go back on Montana's side and you're like, well, Facebook and Instagram do the same thing. The only difference between those two and this is, well, that's a Chinese company. Oh, okay. And there's risk from the Chinese company. There's not risk from the Facebook people. Oh, okay. Well, we see where you're coming from now. Okay. You have these alternate means to use your free speech. You can use Facebook. You can use Instagram. Same thing. Is it though? Is it really the same thing? Because is the user base the same? Is the reach the same? Are you actually reaching the people that your target speech is going to? So even if you just go onto the bare bones of, well, it's a free speech issue, it's really hard to decide. Realistically, it's very likely that the people do win here because even if it is there are alternative forums, why are you getting rid of this forum here? Oh, well, it's because of this privacy stuff. Well, when you go into the nitty gritty of that privacy stuff there, none of this information's ever been turned over to China. And so if your fear is that, well, all of this information could be turned over to China and that's never happened, it seems like this legislation is just prospective harm that you're trying to stop. And we in the legal field, we don't work on prospective harm. We work on actual harm and how we can make you whole again. So even just on that forefront there, it is very intriguing because it should come out to be the people's way. But in the last few years, we've seen a very weird court system with all the judges that were kind of shoved in the late 2020, early 2021. It's really hard to see where that outcome comes. And then you can break it down even further into things of, well, this is really touching on international politics here. You know, this is a foreign company. We're talking about national security measures. Those are measures that are left to Congress. Those are measures that are left to the federal government to take care of, not the states. And so even when you get beyond the free speech, you're going, well, state, what are you doing talking about our national security here? That's for the federal government to take care of. You know, what about, you know, it starts to spiral out. You can't really find the answer. It's going to be very political and opinionated.
Don't college kids and other kids too, because I know my granddaughter has us on TikTok, and it's that you just do this and they use other things and there's people dancing. I thought it was just a fun platform, but now
It can be, but the you know, the bill itself, the law, what it says is that the dangers are the materials that it shows, like people, you know, drinking NyQuil like it's soda, people, you know, setting off fireworks on body part, and ridiculous, you know, like things that are done on YouTube for the last 10 years, and they're not any better or worse kind of thing. And even further than that, it's a restricted area thing. It's what they call geofencing, is that it's only the state of Montana, and you know, it doesn't punish users. So if you were a user, you wouldn't have any kind of issue. The punishments are put onto Apple, Google, what they call any app store provider. And so the punishments are twofold. TikTok, every single time that the app is downloaded, would be fined $10,000, as would whatever app store that put it out there would be also fined that. And that $10,000 will be each day that that's going through. So that's what the bill is saying and trying to stop.
well,
It can be just a fun platform, but those are the things that they see as an issue, are the materials that they show that are dangerous, as well as that perspective, well, your data could be stolen, even though it never happened.
we're going to have to go soon, but
Yeah. What about,
I just want to say one thing, Camille. Pennsylvania a judge in Pennsylvania shot down Pennsylvania's attempt to ban it yesterday. They just
Yes.
Okay, Camille.
I was just going to say, if it's all about the fact that China owns it, why doesn't some American entity decide to create a TikTok here, a similar?
That's the best comment ever. Yeah, why doesn't America form their own TikTok and do it more? Isn't that how Facebook and the others came up?
So it's, you get a little bit into my areas of stuff here going to, first off, you get the intellectual property issues of it. You know, there's multiple different types of protection that TikTok has, whether it be from their logo, from the algorithm itself, which is interesting because their algorithm is kind of akin to the Coca-Cola recipe. So yeah, it's just data and it's managed, but nobody knows how the algorithm actually is processed through. The same way that, like, yeah, we know what's in Coca-Cola, but we don't know how you make very similar things, and those are protected things. As you know, so you could make another video sharing app very similar to TikTok. They even have a patent on the scrollable video.
Oh yeah.
So
and
all
with
of these
we're gonna
things
have to cut.
All right,
Yeah.
Michael.
we're
The
done.
wonderful Michael. We'll
Yes,
get you back.
we have to have you back because we have lots more questions.
Yeah, and this is only starting, you know, we've got a lot to go with it.
We do,
Isn't he wonderful?
This is great.
Wonderful.
This is wonderful. And it's so wonderful to see how you've progressed through your career. It's very impressive.
Thank you.
And I'm sure our viewers will be very interested in hearing back from you. So we'll look forward to scheduling you again very soon. And thank
I'd love to
you
see
to
you guys.
viewers for watching this show. If you have any questions or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. Because remember, this is your show, the law, your money, and you.